How many chromosomes are in a human gamete? It has 23 chromosomes, exactly half the amount found in regular body cells. How long is human pregnancy on average? On average, it lasts around 9 months from conception to birth. Which organ produces sperm in males? That would be the testes, as they're responsible for sperm production. Which hormone is mainly responsible for male characteristics? Testosterone is the answer. It's the key hormone behind traits like deeper voice and facial hair. What is the average length of a menstrual cycle? Most cycles are about 28 days long, though it can vary from person to person. Which of these is part of the male reproductive system? The seminal vesicle. It plays a role in producing seminal fluid. Which organ is responsible for the development of the fetus? Uterus is where the fetus grows and develops during pregnancy. Which of the following is not a part of the female reproductive system? The prostate gland is the oddball here. It's part of the male reproductive system. Which organ receives the fertilized egg? The uterus does, and it's where the fertilized egg implants and starts developing. How many eggs are typically released per menstrual cycle? Usually just one egg is released during each cycle. Where does fertilization usually occur? It typically happens in the fallopian tube. Which structure stores mature sperms? That's the epididymis. It stores and matures sperm before they travel further. What carries sperm from the testes to the urethra? The vas deferens is the tube that does this job. Which of the following protects the testes and keeps them cool? The scrotum is the answer. It acts like a natural cooler for the testes. Which hormone is not involved in the menstrual cycle? Insulin is the oddball here. It regulates blood sugar, not reproductive functions. Which hormone prepares the uterus lining for implantation? That would be progesterone. It makes the lining ready in case of pregnancy. Which hormone is highest just before ovulation? LH, or luteinizing hormone, spikes just before ovulation. Which structure is cut during a vasectomy? The vas deferens is the answer. Cutting it stops sperm from reaching the semen. Which of these hormones triggers milk production? Prolactin does. It signals the body to start making milk. What helps in the expulsion of the baby during childbirth? Oxytocin triggers contractions to help push the baby out. Which structure helps nourish the embryo early on? That's the placenta. It supplies oxygen and nutrients to the embryo. What is the fluid-filled sac around the embryo called? It's called the amniotic sac. It cushions and protects the baby. What is the process of forming eggs called? It's called oogenesis, the process of creating eggs in the ovaries. Which cell division occurs during gamete formation? Meiosis is the answer. That's how eggs and sperms end up with half the usual number of chromosomes. When does ovulation typically occur in a 28-day cycle? Usually around day 14. That's the midpoint of the cycle. Which part of the sperm helps it penetrate the egg? The acrosome contains enzymes that help the sperm get through the egg's outer layer. Which layer of the uterus is shed during menstruation? The endometrium is the inner lining that breaks down if there's no pregnancy. Sperm production takes place in the seminiferous tubules inside the testes. They're the actual site of sperm creation. What is the outermost layer of the uterus called? The perimetrium is the answer. It's the thin outer layer of the uterus. What is the first cell formed after fertilization called? That's the zygote, the very first stage of a new human life. That's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe for more videos like these.